All right, hello everyone. Welcome to a software design meeting about engine connectivity engineering. And we seem to have a bunch of topics today. And I guess the first topic is Netlink. And does Todd need to share, or do we just look at these notes here?
No, I need to share.
Okay, so go ahead and start sharing, Todd. Okay, now Roman can stop sharing. Okay, let's take a look.
Okay, so indulge me for a little bit of a story here about .NET. This won't be a long bit, but I do want to talk a little bit about this for everyone here and people listening in. So just some basics of .NET Link. It does for .NET what JLink does for Java. It lets you just load arbitrary .NET types and classes into the .NET runtime and call methods, create objects, call methods, et cetera. Very natural syntax without any preparation of these classes in any way.
Okay.
But .NET Link also adds two features that JLink does not have, which are sometimes forgotten when people talk about .NET Link, but they're actually quite useful. One is that you can call C-style DLLs
I was going to ask
directly from
about
the,
that. And
yeah,
how
you
does
can
that
call,
relate to the foreign function interface?
well, it's very similar. If this is a capability we've had for 20 years for Windows, it works for all platforms now, but and
When did it
people
start working for all platforms?
well, it actually has worked for all platforms whenever all platforms worked with .NET Link, which has kind of been spotty and creaky. But it's the functionality. There's nothing in it that is specific to
So,
Windows,
so let
so it
me
works fine.
understand. I mean, a .dylib file, that's a Mac specific thing, right? But this is
Yeah,
what files are we talking
it
about here?
whatever is right for your platform, right? So on Mac it would be a lib file or a .ld, and in Linux it's a .so file, and then on a Windows it's a DLL file. Whatever the standard
Okay.
shared library convention is for your
Yep.
platform. Okay. And it also lets you .NET Link also lets you call Comm Objects,
Yep.
which
Okay.
is, all right, fine. So the 14.2 update in 14.2. So the .NET Link was really written 20 years ago, and it's had very minimal updates. In the meantime, the .NET world has moved forward considerably. There were quite a few years of confusion while Microsoft transitioned .NET from what they call now the .NET framework, which is sort of .NET 4 and earlier, away from that to this .NET Core thing, and it was just a horrible muddle for years. But they finally settled on a single .NET 5 and later, which is now the actual modern .NET.
Okay.
And .NET
Can
Link
we get
has
to the bottom line? You've updated .NET Link so it works with all the latest stuff? Is that the basic idea?
yes, I have updated. It works with Mono and .NET, and there are now official. Microsoft for a long time has been shipping .NET downloads for Mac and Linux, and you can install these easily. And
Wait,
.NET
wait,
Link
wait, wait,
works
wait, wait, wait.
fine.
Does our stuff work out of the box, or do you have to install all
No,
kinds of weird things?
it works out of the box on Windows. On Mac and Linux, you have to install either Mono or .NET. So you don't have to
Okay, so
install
wait a
all
minute, wait a
kinds of
minute.
weird things. You have to install one weird
No, no,
thing.
no, no, just a second. You know, every time we have one of those things that requires external installs, we trip up lots of people. So, for example, for video, this FFmpeg install, for example, big mess. So, do we have some mechanism for auto installing this when it's needed?
No, we don't, and I don't think we want a mechanism. Installing .NET is, it's a system. It's a piece of system functionality that you're adding to your
Okay,
machine.
so
I don't
so
know if we want
sadly,
it.
nobody is going to do this except real aficionados.
Right, or someone who wants to use this functionality. I think that maybe I don't know what proportion of Macs and Linux machines already have Mono or .NET installed, but uh,
But it's not part of the system software.
it's not part of the system. So it doesn't work. So that's the great limitation of .NET Link compared to JLink. It doesn't work out of the box for everyone, but it does work out of
Okay,
the
so we
box
can't make a
for Windows.
WFR that's based on it, for example.
No, not unless we put up a dialog box that tells people, oh, before you run this function, you need to install
Yeah, so
.NET.
that's hopeless. But I'm
Right.
I'm just trying to understand the the reason that you can't install this is because it requires a root. Uh, it's a sudo type thing. Is that correct or not? Does it require that or not?
Yeah, I'm sure it requires that. But you, I just don't think we want to try to be installing .NET for people. It's not, like what we do with Python. When we install Python, we're just installing it in some private little area. We're not affecting the system. But .NET doesn't work that way. You have to put it, it's like system software you're at. And so,
Why?
well, I don't really know. I've never tried to install .NET. I think it puts some tentacles in the system when you install it, other than just dumping some libraries.
Right. Okay.
So,
I mean, that's unfortunate. I mean, are we sure? Because, with things like Python, we found encapsulation software that allows us to install it. We didn't think it was possible. We thought it was kind of a central system install, but it turns out it's not.
well, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure that that's not possible. I'll look into that. I
Why
don't
don't we look
think,
into it? I mean,
yeah, I'll look into it. And it's possible that Mono, for example, might be a cleaner install.
okay. But the main point is, can people use it in a WFR or not? And if the
right.
answer is yes, that's one thing. If the answer is no, that's another thing. Let's determine that.
Okay. But right. At the moment, the answer is no. But it's
Okay.
possible that we can
Is
fix
the
that. Okay.
design in any way compatible with the foreign function interface stuff we built, or is it just completely, utterly different?
It's utterly different. It looks, for calling DLLs, it looks kind of similar. I'll show you an example in a second, but it's utterly different technology.
Okay, right. We're trying to race through this. So
Fine. All right.
the
Okay. So we got a big update for .NET 2.0. It's in the big ticket here is that
it's
it now
wonderful.
runs with
It's
modern
wonderful.
.NET. Okay. So, and what we just said, .NET runs on all Windows machines. It runs on Mac and Linux if you have Mono or Microsoft's .NET. I got some trivial incompatible changes and some rarely used functions that are no longer supported in .NET. All right, so calling DLLs. So since its inception, we've been able to do this with Netlink. And so here's an example. This is and I've chosen an example that is in the load foreign functions interface example. Right?
Yep.
This is RAND bytes from the OpenSSL, and that's
Yep.
So I'll just, open SSL path. I need the path to the library. And so define DLL function takes the name of the function and the path to the DLL, and then it takes the signature, which,
Okay, so can you show me the corresponding foreign function interface function?
You're just making me get ahead of myself here. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like
The argument
in the
order
foreign
is
function
different.
interface.
And the
raw
foreign
memory,
function interface
yeah,
uses
for foreign function load.
Our kind of description of the type signature.
Right, and it uses this in .NET you can use the C style notation directly from the header if you want. So that's the define, and then, but this function it's an out point, right? It takes an empty array that it fills in, and so to call that in .NET, you have to create an array of, length 5 is with, the length we're going to call this with. Then we can call ran voids buff5, return some error code, and then net object to expression takes the buffer, which is an object reference, turns it into a list. All right. So then this is what the function is. So in comparison to foreign function load, it's pretty similar, except, you have to write a signature like this. But it's very similar. Here you create a raw memory allocate, which is similar to that net new of the byte array. Then you call the function, and then you sort of turn it back into a Wolfram language array of bytes.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
cool.
and so the downside of the .NET version, in this case, it's about 10 times slower.
Okay.
So that was one of the main reasons to write the foreign function interface. It's a much higher speed interface. Okay.
But
so another thing you can do is
why?
Sorry.
I mean, if we really want this to be mainstream, we surely should try and make these designs be compatible. I mean, look, if we are seeing this as an expert level developer type thing that is used when you happen to have something which is a .NET type story, then fine. If we think it's going to be mainstream and kind of, then it really needs to have sort of a cosmetic level interface that is compatible with the foreign function one, because it can be, right? There's nothing different.
Well, when you say interface, there's some things we can do. We could maybe make the argument sequence more similar. Like, for example, this uses the arrow notation, arguments arrow return type. And we could make the
But
arguments
yeah,
similar.
but there's no point in doing that if we're basically, if the .NET jungle is quite different from what we can get with these other things. There's no point in making a few cosmetic changes because it's really going to be different in the end.
Right. I mean, what you have to do, the things like raw memory allocate and raw memory import, those things are never going to be the same between doing this with .NET or doing this with foreign function interface.
Why?
Well, because they're just completely different things. I mean, raw memory allocate goes off and allocates some, C struct in the kernel memory
And what does
space,
net new
right?
do?
Net new creates an object that lives over in the .NET runtime, turns a reference to it.
So raw memory allocate also allocates memory that lives in the address space of the, I guess the dynamic library has been loaded into the main address space, so it's all the same heap. Is that
Yeah,
true?
right. It's loaded into the kernel address space, like where the DLL is loaded as well. I mean, they're just completely different things. We have a set of low-level functions for manipulating these memory, and .NET has its own set of functions for manipulating memory.
Right. Look, this seems just fine and ergonomic for .NET stuff. I mean, although, what context is net new in?
Net new is in the Netlink context.
Okay, fine. Do I have to load the Netlink context before I
Yes.
start this?
Yes.
Okay, so this is really a kit, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like JLink. You have
Okay,
to load
fine. All right.
JLink as
Okay,
well.
so what things should we really look at here? Okay, so
Okay.
calling.
Well, I mean, I can show an example of calling a Comm object. I don't know if
Well,
you want to see that. That's over here. I got to go to Windows for that because Comm is a Windows only thing. So, so let's say I want to do some poke into some sort of Windows system details, right? And so one way to do that, there's this W script that's the Wolfram scripting host, a shell object. It's a Comm object, so I can instantiate a new Comm object.
Script?
It's the Windows script host.
Oh, okay. Windows. It's not Wolfram script. It's Windows.
No, it's Windows script host. Yeah.
Okay.
So I create Comm object as the function that creates.
I got it. I understand. I can see what the code is. Okay. And what is special folders?
Well, so this is the main thing. We're calling this function called special folders on the shell object, and it's a function that returns. Windows has a whole bunch of special folders.
Is it defined in the Comm object? The special folders thing is defined in the Comm object, but then we can use it JLink style as a symbol in our system.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool.
And then, so if I want to see where the start menu folder is, for example, I want to put a shortcut programmatically into the start menu or something, I can get that folder from
so
that.
Let me understand how we could, I mean, a thing like this, should we imagine that we have WFR functions that I believe WFR is capable of tagging things by platform. So I believe we could put WFR functions that only work under Windows there. Does that make sense?
And that would make sense. That would make sense for some of the stuff, right? I mean, this function actually, well, there's other ways to get this information that work on other platforms.
But assume that there is stuff that is defined in .com files.
Yeah.
And, so you're saying that we could have, if there are things that are conveniences that could be done under Windows and can easily be done using things that are available this way, why not do them and package them up as WFRs so people can use them?
Yeah, I guess we have WFRs that are platform specific. So
well, let's check that it works. I mean, we could do an example.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this would be a good example. But actually, this wouldn't be a good example because there's another way to do this with just regular .NET that would work.
Fine. But I'm sure there are good examples.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's cool. All right. Next item. Sorry, we started this meeting really late, so I'm really
fine. And then calling .NET libraries, whatever. This is just standard stuff, right? And this is, of course, the magic of .NET Link, just like the magic of JLink. It lets you just load types into the Wolfram environment. There's a net type info function that gives me all sorts of information about classes and properties and methods and things like that. So this is the environment class. It's got a function called get logical drives. Who knew?
Yep.
I don't know what the heck that stuff is. But
Yeah. Anyway,
there's environment current directory. I want to say that. So for some reason, the .NET runtime, this is the .NET runtime's current directory, right? But if I wanted to
yeah, I get
sync it up with,
You say directory without a V in the middle.
right? And so now the
Wait a minute. Windows is now using forward slashes for directory names.
I don't. Oh, you know why? You know why this is? You know why this didn't change the directory? Because I set the directory to this stupidly earlier.
Okay, but is Windows using forward slashes for
No,
directory?
it doesn't. I'm not sure why this comes back. This looks like it's sort of Unix style.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
No, wait,
So
hold
what?
on, hold on. Yeah, I'm confused. I'm confused. This
We're
is
back
my
on Mac.
Mac. I'm back on Mac now. I get
Oh.
confused myself.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
Mac.
Okay.
But this stuff, this works perfect. And so I just want to point out, I am doing this presentation on the Mac, right? And these are examples of running, all these .NET examples are running on my Mac here. This is Mac stuff. It works
That's good.
perfectly fine. Okay, so that's .NET. Again, some, in the future, it would be great if we had external evaluate support. And that would mean that we could write a C# cell and put some method definition in C# method or an F# method definition, say, and then evaluate that and then call that via .NET link, right? And that's what you can do with Java and JLink now with external evaluate. There's a unification between
Wait a minute.
Java
Can you show
code
that?
cells.
Can you show that? And if you do an external if you do a greater than sign,
yeah,
the type of greater than sign and pull down the list. That Java isn't in that list, is it?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
It's right there.
How does that work?
Every time I do this, I screw
I say
up.
the same thing.
Every time I try this, let's see if let's make a definition. Int foo of int I,
Okay. All right.
and then I get an external function back. Oh, you know something?
No. Now just say %3.
Yeah, it's not gonna,
Say %3.
I don't think it's going to work. It doesn't work because this is broken. Okay, this is something that's broken recently, and we do have to fix this. But this is, unfortunately, it's because of this external function. External function support broke recently for Java in this, but the other stuff
in 14.2. Okay, so it'll get
fixed.
in
14.2. I'll have to fix that. Yeah, it's because I made a method definition. If I did some other Java code like
doesn't
a class
matter.
or something,
Doesn't matter. I get it.
Yeah,
this is the way that it will.
Right,
so
and this is really handy.
Do that for C#
it's super handy because it's nice to be able to write your own code, because otherwise you might have to call some method 10,000 times, and rather than calling it 10,000 times, across the Wolfram language, net barrier, you could just write a one-line .NET function that calls the thing 10,000 times, and then you just call that using .NET.
So what is there to discuss particularly here? I mean, this is lovely.
Well,
but we are
nothing other than that we have this new.
I mean,
the point is that .NET Link is now going to be a fully functioning member of the connectivity universe, and it hasn't really been that for a little while, even though it's always worked on Windows. But it's just being brought up now to speed, and it is now, although it doesn't work everywhere out of the box, still is a solid contender for what it can do in terms of connectivity.
Right. Okay. Okay. I mean, okay. Is there more to? This is wonderful, but is there more to discuss here?
No, I don't think so. Not unless you have any questions about something.
I don't think so. I think this it's a good thing. I mean, I assume that you who are you interacting with to get a C#? And I mean, if we can get F# and things as well, that would be nice. But I mean, into the external evaluate.
Well, that would be me to write that. It was rather complicated for JLink. I had to dive into some very deep things in the Java.
But wait a minute. Somebody else is. I'm talking about integrating it into that pull-down menu.
Yes, but that requires quite a bit of work in .Netlink to support it, just like it required a fair amount of work in
Well,
Chainlink.
I don't think it's the most important thing in the world, but I think, and I'm really looking forward to you digging into the package format stuff.
Yeah, I'm not, we haven't had this, but it's definitely something down the road. I'm not totally sure it's possible, but Microsoft does let you sort of programmatically compile code. And so that's essentially what's needed, but there's all sorts of class loading issues that have to be dealt with.
Okay. I wish we could spend more time appreciating this,
Yeah.
but we should move on. Roman, can you start sharing your screen, please? Okay, so Todd can stop sharing. Okay, what's next on our list here, Roman? Roman, are you there? You may be on mute. Roman, can you speak, please?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, there was some other confusion.
Okay, no problem.
Some other. Okay, so the demo of faster kernel launching. So this is a continuation of what we did last time, where we looked at the kernel forking, and now the second part of this. So if I let me go to the other notebook for that. The second part is so far the way kernels were launched, where that each machine would be handled in turn. So you make an SSH connection, okay, and then you waited for those connections, and there was always wait time wasted, busy waiting time. And so now I changed it around that it will try to launch kernels from all the machines as quickly as it can. That still happens sequentially. Changing that would require probably threads
so look,
and other stuff.
As a serious user of this functionality, I would say that it's gotten much better. What isn't working is this management of groups of parallel kernels. That's a total mess.
Yes, I mean, that is on the agenda, but that is not 14.2. I mean, that is a major rewrite of
hold on a second, guys. We're not sharing a screen here. I don't see any screen.
Huh?
I don't see you need to click on the tab, Todd. You have to go to the top and click on the tab.
Oh, I get it. Never mind.
Yeah, you always have two tabs, one for the meeting and one for the sharing. Okay, so good.
All right. So I want to understand, I mean, so you're saying that kernel groups, which we should design, is a whole big heavy lift.
That's a major, because
so let me tell you the two things that I've reported many times. Okay. First of all, I sent you mail again, this business about authentication for WFRs on remote machines.
Yes, there must be something about the cloud.
Well, there must be
cloud
something
credentials.
about.
That's something that I need to look at with the cloud team, because I never saw that. So I need a way to reproduce.
Well, so let me clarify. Is Stefan here? I don't think Stefan doesn't join these meetings, does he?
No.
But our node is here, I think.
I'm here. Yeah, I've seen your email. I'm looking at it with Roger Dooley, or at least I.
Okay, but I don't think this is a specific. Okay, it could be to do with my machine configuration. I really doubt it. Here's what I think it is. I'm using WFRs that are not in the public repository, but have been publicly deployed to an individual account. Do you understand the scenario?
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Right. Roman, do you understand that scenario?
Yes. I mean, so the way it is set up, if you are logged into the cloud in the master kernel, and you've checked that box preferences.
There's no boxes from the the master kernel, but that's on my local desktop machine.
What is? I'm just trying to find. No, you're right. That was confused. Sorry. Yes. So what should happen is that if it's configured to do so, it will forward your credentials to the cloud, to all the subkernels. And if that happens, the subkernels will be authorized and there will be no problem. And so what I suspect that for some reason that forwarding either is not set up or doesn't work.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you what I think. Okay, so when I run it twice, the second time it works. The first time it produces a bunch of stupid messages, which should, to begin with, right? Those are messages, those are essentially raw terminal messages coming out through the parallel kernels. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I saw these. Yes.
Right.
I mean,
so
that is what happens when a function requires cloud credentials and there is no pop-up on our terminal to ask for the password.
I understand, but I think you should package that if you can tell that that's coming back, you should package that return better rather than just splatting text all over the screen. That's one thing, but the issue is, what I suspect is happening is that there is a Cloud Connect that needs to be done. And that Cloud Connect, if I said parallel evaluate of Cloud Connect, then it would perhaps work. Okay, I can try that. But what's happening is somehow the first time you run it, it is trying to resolve those WFR entries before it has done the Cloud Connect. And by the second time it's doing it, it's done the Cloud Connect. You see what I'm saying?
Yes. So I need a way to reproduce the problem. So who would have enough information about the way you're using it?
It's in those notebooks. Roger certainly has the information.
Okay.
Okay. But so now you have a scheme for even faster. I mean, right now I'm launching 228 cores basically right now. And it's now finally, thankfully, after all these years of me complaining, it's a reasonably acceptable speed. It is an acceptable speed. So you're saying you can make it even faster by using forking, is that correct?
Well, I mean, I've not tried this, and I don't know how well threads work with trying to launch SSH connections and so on, because threads are usually rather lightweight, but it's something to try. I mean, the initial connection doesn't take a lot of time if the remote machine is in good order, but I mean, you have seen that if a machine doesn't respond properly, or is down, or is bogged down, then that single machine will still hold everything up because that initial connection is sequential, and that would
so why aren't you timing
improve
out on that machine and going back and putting it at the end of the list, and maybe
even timing out while you are trying to make a WSDP connection is not always possible, because I mean that protocol is 30 years old and it has certain quirks. So that is one. I'm just trying to be very careful when the kernel
Can you ping the machine before you try and initiate the connection?
I can ping the machine, but pinging the machine does not guarantee that the SSH server is in good order on that machine. And if the machine is completely down, then it will not time out. It will fail quickly. It's only when the connection attempt seems to
I see.
work.
The CMP packets for a ping might work, but the packets that are
yes. I mean, if the SSH if there is no SSH server, then the port is down and it will return quickly. But if the SSH server is listening but not responding, then that's where the problem is. And I mean,
I don't understand why you don't do an asynchronous SSH connection first.
But that would suffer from the same problem. Okay, an asynchronous one, yes. But I mean, the general question is, how much time do you want to spend diagnosing problems that may take longer than just trying it out, if there are reasonable timeouts?
No, right,
that is lacking, yes.
But so that's the issue. The issue is, you're trying to launch a bunch of machines. It sticks on one machine.
Yes.
If there was any way, UX-wise or otherwise, where I could just say, ignore that machine and keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, that is the one remaining problem that is, I mean, I can think of at least 10 ways in which the SSH connection could fail, from mistyped hostname to overloading machine, whatever.
Right, but mistyped hostname, as you said,
that will require, yes, I mean, 9 out of those 10 will return quickly, but it's usually the other one that you run into. So, and I mean
Okay.
this, yes, I mean this is a black art. So I'm trying to improve it for each new version. But so
Well, okay, but
mm,
what I'm saying
mhm.
is what I think we need to do is have UX that works around this. That is, I don't know what happens in terms of threads and so on, but if we were, for example, trying to do this launching on a separate thread,
Yes, I mean
and
that is
then
possible. If that is possible, then yes, then that would mitigate that problem because you would not wait. You would actually not wait for that connection.
yes, but even so, even if you were waiting, then you could still kill it. You could still have a button that basically is in the launch, in the
Yes,
progress monitor for the launcher that just is a button that says ignore this machine, basically. See what I'm saying? I mean,
yes. I
that to
mean,
me would be decent UX.
hmm
In other words,
okay.
after a
Mhm.
little while, it comes up and it's like, look, that machine is on the fritz in some way. And you press the thing that says ignore that machine,
Yes.
and then it keeps going.
I mean, it would even happen automatically if the initial connections were in separate threads, and then once you start collecting those kernels that come back, you will have a timeout there, a global timeout, and after that timeout, you could just kill all the threads, and those
Yeah,
machines that didn't reply would automatically be ignored. I mean,
that's fine.
that's
Yeah, that would be
so.
fine.
Yeah, I mean that's something. Yeah, that's something to try. I mean.
Okay, all right. But so what else is in the roadmap here?
Okay, I mean, there is one case which will become more important in the future. That's WSTP server kernels, where this kind of two-way first launching and then collecting the backlinks isn't implemented yet. That's on the to-do list. Uh, Other than that,
Okay,
I mean, this is now actually
okay.
working quite nicely. So, I mean, I've
I
used
agree. I
kernels.
think it's
Okay.
vastly better
Mhm,
in 14.2. I'm
mhm.
happy.
Yeah, I mean, here I have kernels on both sides of the Atlantic, so I have sometimes 100 millisecond ping time. So that particular case with 160 kernels took 13 seconds, and the old way sequentially would take almost a minute.
Right. Great.
And
Um,
just a quick look at, I mean, the reporting, of course, is now also changed because it's listing all those machines and it keeps counts of how many of those kernels have
I know.
already been
I've seen
received.
this
And
many
so,
times because I've been using this. Right.
mm,
Looks nice. I think. I mean, I think it's good. Here's a question.
mhm.
So the other thing that's messed me up is compiled code that works differently on different machines. Now, maybe that's
Yes.
a corner case, but this question about distributing definitions to different machines,
Mhm.
I'm trying to think. I mean, most of the time, the definition distribution stuff works surprisingly well. But when
Yes.
it involves external languages, it does not work well.
Yes. I mean, I remember that recently, I think you asked Brad to run some big computation for you. And what he he used this one kernel per machine to first compile the DLL and
Right.
then in a second step use foreign function load on all those kernels. And that works reasonably well. I mean,
Yes.
that is fast enough. So there are some extra steps involved. Now, foreign functions, as Christopher confirmed, are not serializable, so you will always have to compile them on the remote end, whereas our compiled code should probably be serializable.
It is serializable.
Okay, but it takes a long time to generate.
It takes a long time to generate, but once it's generated on one
Mhm.
machine, so long as you say target arrow all,
Yes,
and that's
and it.
something that in the definition distribution system, it
Mhm.
should check that, right? It can tell whether compiled code from our compiler is distributable to those remote machines. I don't think it's doing that check, but it needs to be.
Well, it's not doing any checks for distributed definitions. I mean, it just takes the definitions and ships
I
them.
understand, but so I'm saying this is a
Mhm.
case where it does need to do a check. It needs to say, is this definition, set for target arrow all? If it's not, produce a message or something.
I don't understand why we're framing the question of foreign function interface in terms of serializability, when I would think that the problem is cross compilation, which is what the compiler is doing. Like you're compiling.
No. You're mixing up two different things. Foreign function load is dealing with DLLs that are, in the wild. Okay, our compiler is producing intermediate code that is completely, that can be made to be machine independent. Right? A DLL cannot be made to be machine independent. It's deeply
if you're
dependent.
the one who's building it, to some extent, yes. I mean,
No. I understand, but we're not talking about that. Those are two different branches. One branch is we're using function compile, our compiler. Okay? If we're doing that, then it should be done with target arrow all, target device arrow all, so that it produces a cross-compilable object that can then be run on any machine. If you do not set target device arrow all, which is not set, I believe, by default at this time, then it compiles faster, but it does not produce cross-compilable stuff. Okay? So what I'm saying is, if you have a function compile, our compiler, compiled thing, you look at that thing, you can obviously ask, when you're doing the distribution to the parallel kernels, you say, is this thing built for the target that corresponds to the machine type of this thing that I'm distributing it to? If yes, be happy. If no, complain. That makes sense? Roman, you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I mean, I understand. I'm just trying to understand the kind of overall impact that would have on the speed of the system.
Trivial test.
It's probably
the trivial test. Trivial test. If you see a compiled function, which is going to happen, rarely, then just do the test. It's some simple thing. I don't know. It's a sub value or something like that. Okay. All right. Okay. What else is it? So you've also got this. I haven't yet used this. I think the deep tabling type thing. Now, what if I have a table and then inside the code, inside the body of that table, I have another table? Does it deal with that case, or does it only deal with manifest top level multi-dimensional
No, I mean
tables?
it parallelizes the top level table to whatever depth you want, but parallel computations cannot be nested, right? So it's
I understand
it has
that
to stop
point.
there. Yes.
By the way, that's the thing which we should probably talk about at some point: the nesting of parallel computations, because that is something that again, using the technology that you're using for this parallel multidimensional table could probably do something with them. But in other words, the case that you're discussing is this is only manifest multidimensional tables. If I have a one-dimensional table whose body contains another one-dimensional table, parallelized does not work on that thing.
That's right. It doesn't go inside. I mean, it looks at the top.
That's fine. It's manifest tables.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, last time we kind of started a discussion about whether there was a need to specify the depth to which a nested table is parallelized. At the moment, it's just a choice between first level only and all the levels. But for example,
we have a meeting with a large number of people that we're now late for. So can we?
This is not urgent. This is
okay. All right. Okay. What else should we be looking at? I'm really happy with the speed up of parallel table and so on.
And I mean, there's nothing urgent. But
okay, so I just want to clarify. Okay, IDE support is largely finished. Wolfram Web Engine, there is one push that's being made on that. Is that correct?
Yes, IDE support is already published to GitHub, and we're just waiting for a stable build to make it go live.
Okay, all right, fine, good.
Wolfram Web Engine, we have weekly meetings about the last steps of finishing the product and hooking it up with everything. Standalone applications, it's the marketing page that we are working on.
Wait a minute. Let's go down in order. Modern package format, that's Todd's next big project.
Yes, there is nothing yet to report, yes.
But Todd, do you feel like you know what the path is for that?
Yes. I have all of the notes from previous discussions. I have Connor's notes. I have what Connor did on his own sort of little trajectory through that project. Yeah, I have everything.
Okay, so do you believe that we have the design nailed, or do we?
Honestly, I can't weigh in on that because I haven't dug into it enough.
Okay.
We have enough of a design for Connor. Connor thought we had enough of a design to begin to create a sort of prototype of this.
Okay,
but I'm not exactly sure how Connor's design hews to the original notes. That's the only issue.
Well, we went through this in some detail. I thought we had a reasonable design, but it was important to see how it actually felt. And there will be some UX issues about how things are presented in notebooks and so on.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of tentacles for that, but I do think that we have the basis of, and some sort of working code to tinker with. Yes.
Good stuff. All right. External evaluate. External evaluate, Roman.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Okay. Sorry. No, I mean, the 14.2 is obviously done, and in the future we see more incremental updates.
Okay,
I think
fine.
the
So
basic design
is this basically finished for the time being?
Well, there's some more things, some big things that Ricardo is working on, and that is the automatic deployment of all of these environments where there are some new technologies we could use.
Okay, but so we've succeeded in doing that for Python, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
and the same technology can probably also be used for some other languages.
Okay, so well, let's be specific because we don't want to prioritize things which aren't worth doing. So I mean, R we're doing this for. Yes, that was Leonid's effort. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And what's the status of that?
Oh, it's in progress. It's basically working, but I'll need to also use the recent advances that Ricardo is making to basically use those new package managers that do the provisions. But the layer that, yeah, anyway, okay, I can talk later more about it.
Do we have any other languages that we are targeting at this time for this?
We could do JavaScript, Node.js can be provisioned, and also databases could be provisioned, but that is probably not useful. So I will stick with.
We don't have a single function in the function repository that's based on Node.js, do we? I mean, is there something we can imagine doing there? Doesn't sound all that useful to me.
Probably for us internally, not really. I guess people outside are using it.
Well, give me a use case where I'd want to use it. Something which jumps out somehow, some web
I don't
type
know, anything
thing.
that is anything that is related about having a project locally and you want to compile it, produce CSS, JavaScript, or build a website, static website.
Well, is that really realistic?
Things like that.
Wait a minute, is this realistic? I mean, in other words, give me like a couple of examples of where you would want to build, let's say, a WFR that has Node.js inside it.
Well, one will be building documentation. There are a lot of static website builders that are written in JavaScript. It's true there are also other in Python that one could use. That is
You're not making a great case for this right now. I mean, maybe there's an encapsulation that will be relevant. I don't know, when we have more things that can be run natively in the cloud and so on.
The way that I'm structuring this code and it can be done is that basically you can create an environment with certain things in it. So for now, I'm keeping it generic. I'm just saying that Node.js could be something that can be done. Maybe it's trivial, maybe it's not. It depends if we are able to nail a design that is as generic enough to basically provision environment in all those different systems. Then it makes sense to do it.
Okay, all right, okay, but I think we can consider that this is winding down. I mean, your work on this provisioning stuff is largely complete, Ricardo, is that correct?
This part I will need to implement it because if we move to this automatic provisioning system, we basically don't need to worry anymore about new version of Python coming out, etc., etc.
Okay, so you still have to do the automatic provisioning stuff, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And that will basically what Leonid would use to do R. And then if we want to.
Okay, so what's the time scale for doing this?
I hope next release should be.
Okay, so there's significant work involved in this, is that correct?
There is some work involved in it, unfortunately. Yeah, with all other stuff, obviously. I mean, it will be a month of work, basically, if I was able to do it one after the other. But yeah, I can probably try to focus on that.
Okay, and we're sure it's worth doing. Because we have a solution for Python right now.
But this
we
is
need
speeding up
this to have a
Python as
solution
well.
for R. What's that?
Yes. This is speeding up provisioning substantially. Like in some cases, it could reduce from 60 seconds to 6 seconds.
All right, fine. It's important.
It's a good feature, Stephen. I love this. As far as I'm concerned, it's the most important thing that's listed here.
Fine. All right. So that's a priority for Ricardo. Okay. All right, I get it. Okay, can you go on, Roman, please, quickly, and then we should wrap up. Standalone applications, we need a shingle to describe it, right? Which we don't have yet.
What do you mean?
Roman? Well,
Yes.
we need marketing pages and so on.
Yes. I mean, this is happening. So it's now also properly tracked. And so
good. All right, error handling.
Yes, this is ongoing. There is a version in 14.2 that is being used by several internal projects. And as we gain experience, we are moving towards a new release that will be in the system with proper error handling. But the important point here to note is that we are primarily concerned about error handling, internal error handling for developers. And there is also talk about the error translation layer and more user-facing errors, but the two are fairly distinct projects.
So, I mean, an example of something we need to move from the developer layer to user layer is progress reporting, also possibly the generation of summary boxes. But that which I think is independent of all of this, but I just mention it because it is.
Yes, progress monitoring is something that, I mean, we talked about it last week, and so that will be picked up by ILD or LCC.
Okay, good. All right, we should probably go because we're really late. So thank you all. Sorry, I was trying to hustle everybody through these things. Lots of nice stuff. Sorry about the hustling. All right, see you guys soon. Bye for now.